So, Bud, once you're in there with someone, what are you looking at from the get-go? Like, what little adjustments are you making, and what's one way that you establish your distance from the get-go?
So my distance is here. If I can touch you, you know what I mean, I'm in range. You know what I mean? So 9 times out of 10, my arms is longer than my opponent. So if my opponent swings and, you know what I mean, he come up short, then I know I'm in a distance where if I can touch him and he can't touch me, I'm in a good space.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But, you know, you itch close, And right here, we in the distance of each other. We in mid-range.
Yeah.
So either we close together, we mid-range, or we all the way out. You know what I mean? It just depends on what range I want to be in.
Yeah. And when it comes to working your jab, what are you looking at when you're trying to work your jab? And what's the different ways that you set your jab up?
Well, you know, you can set your jab up a lot of ways. You know, you can move your jab all the way around. You know, you want to touch the shoulders, you want to touch the hands, the body, the face. You know what I mean? The chest, in case your guy is moving a lot, you want to aim at his chest.
Yep.
You know, just to set up any other punch. You know, you want to feint off the jab. So if I'm hitting you with a jab and you constantly doing this, you know, I'll feint, jab you, feint, you know what I mean? Get you to get used to doing this.
Yeah.
And then out the blue, feint the jab, throw the hook, right hand or something like that.
Yeah. And when it comes to counterpunching, how do you counterpunch so effectively?
So counterpunching is something that you practice repeatedly. You know, and like I was just telling you, when you go to the body, you know, it's just things that you taught, you know, in the gym. Counter, boom, counter, boom, counter, boom. So, you know, when you fight, it just comes second nature.
Yeah. And being one of the best finishers in the game, when you have someone hurt, what's going through your mind?
Be patient, you know, because earlier in my career, I let a lot of people off because I went and jumped on them and just, you know, went crazy and, you know, didn't set up the shots and, you know, let them hold me and, you know, you got to do what got the person in a bad situation to be able to finish them instead of just going out there and just throwing haymakers and, you know, just wasting a lot of energy and getting yourself tired.
Yeah. And when it comes to combination punching, what's a few kind of key pointers to throw effective combinations?
Well, my thing is the most effective combinations or punches is the ones that land in a spot that you need them to.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm more so a pinpoint guy instead of just throwing unnecessary punches. You know, I want to hit you in the right spots. So, you know, I'm targeting certain areas on your body that I want to hit.
Yeah. And when you're in there with someone that might be a bit bigger or might be a little bit stronger, how do you adjust to that?
Well, it's two things that you can do with somebody bigger and stronger. You know, you can either try to push them back, you know, because 9 times out of 10, a strong fighter not used to going back, you know, so it kind of fucks them up in the head, you know.
Yeah.
Or you can just box them because some of them just slower than others because they got flat feet and they just looking to load up on certain shots.
Yeah. And throughout the course of a 12-round championship fight, how does your mindset adjust from the first 3 rounds to rounds 4 to 6, etc.?
Oh man, it varies from fighter to fighter. So every fighter is different. So you go in there with a clear mind to do the things that you need to do to get the job done.
Yeah. And are you going in there with a very detailed game plan, or are you going in there being flexible in your mind?
Flexible, always flexible. Always flexible because, you know, you never want to just bank on the things that, you know, you worked on in training for a particular person, because it's good to have a game plan, but if that game plan don't work, you always want to have a plan B and plan C and have things that you can do that, you know, offset your game plan and things like that.
And was there any fight in particular that kind of surprised you a little bit, where you did have to make an adjustment that you weren't necessarily expecting?
I would say Igis Kavalauskas.
Yeah.
You know, looking at the scouting report, he was always aggressive, coming strong. He was more patient than I thought. You know, and Israel Majimov, he was the same way. You know, when I got in the ring, he did all the feinting in the world, but he wouldn't punch. But when you look at his fights previous, he was throwing all these punches. He was strong. He was, you know, walking his fighters down. So when we looked at, you know, his fighting style, he fought me a completely, totally different way. So that's another case where you can't just prepare for one style of a fighter. You got to prepare for anything.